On this video, we're going to talk about relationship gridlock and how to get unstuck. Stay tuned. Welcome to The New Love Addiction. I'm Alan Robarge, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. And let's talk about gridlock and how reoccurring it is for many people, and it's painful. In many ways, it is the common experience for relationships that are not working out, that are in a state of crisis. It is this repeated gridlock experience that continually undermines trust and safety, and over time erodes the good qualities, the foundational caring that you have for another person. The gridlock over time can reinforce bitterness and contempt, or feeling disgust for a partner who is just utterly unable to give us what we the type of emotional connection that we need, which is not always true. That's the nature of gridlock. That's how we perceive it. I want to talk about trauma mind because ultimately that's what's happening in these gridlock experiences. Of course, not for everyone all the time, but chances are that if you're watching this video, how you stumbled upon it and how you have, perhaps you've seen other videos from me, how you've stumbled upon it is due to my work and interest in talking about attachment injuries. An attachment injury is emotional developmental trauma based upon not having been seen, known, heard, understood in such a way that would allow someone to developmentally grow into a sense of secure attachment. And usually this has happened in their family system, primarily with parents. But it also plays out has been undermined as adults when we enter new adult relationships. And what happens when we're in trauma mind is that we lose our resource. We disconnect from the fullness of who we are. My creative self, my wisdom self, my intelligent self, my higher thinking, higher functioning self, the part of me that's able to tap into compassion and empathy. Sometimes we could refer to this when that doesn't happen, when we move into trauma mind, it's a kind of regression. I'm connecting to these very young, tender, confused, hurt parts of myself, a younger self who did not have my current adult self skills. And what happens when we're in relationship and we're practicing intimacy with a partner, we're practicing sharing emotional responsiveness and looking to achieve emotional attunement, which is a kind of felt sense harmony. When we do not have that happening on a regular basis, either due to our own caution around letting it in, either due to perceiving that it's unavailable, or we have picked a partner where we're working with a partner who is challenged, who comes from a history also being unable to provide that level of emotional attunement, emotional mirroring, or emotional responsiveness. When we find ourselves triggered and enter trauma mind, we oftentimes can regress to these much younger, disempowered aspects or parts of ourself. And so now we are triggered in relationship. We could be triggered in an argument, trying to get needs met, but I'm no longer coming from the fullness of my current adult self. I have entered the realm of the trauma mind. And most likely, your partner in that moment, due to the fear of arguing, the attachment system, which is the nervous system, is lighting up. There's a sense of urgency around being understood and receiving reassurance. If your partner also in that moment, and again, is probably the case, now you have two people in trauma mind disconnected from their higher functioning, regressing into these younger, hurt, disempowered aspects of their self, unable to clearly ask for what they need, unable to receive whatever is offered, unable to give compassion back to your partner, and unable to be empathetic to your partner, who most likely in that moment needs the same thing, but perhaps of a different version, presentation, or flavor than you might need. So, two people in activated trauma mind, now unable to move left, to move right. This is what is meant by the phrase a double bind. I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I am caught between a rock and a hard place. This double bind is the experience of gridlock. And as a couples therapist offering couples counseling, and also in my own life, both observing in my family growing up as well as my own adult relationships, the gridlock is just so incredibly painful. And I'll speak from the point of view of being the therapist. When I observe couples, for the most part, I'll say 99% people that I've met as clients are lovely, beautiful, nice, wonderful people. I just don't think people are assholes in general. And so here you have these two people with legitimate needs of wanting caring, comfort, consolation, and kindness from each other, but at the same time feeling so wildly guarded, defensive, arms crossed, shut down, digging their heels in the sand, of being frightened of the vulnerability it takes. It takes an incredible amount of courage to enter into the vulnerability, to let down your guard, to even entertain if the partner might be able to offer some emotional connection. And when we're in trauma mind, the whole setup of how trauma mind was created was that there was an absence, an inability for usually parent or caregiver for our family. The parent was unable to meet us in that level of emotional vulnerability. So during gridlock, we're working on multiple levels of healing. We're trying to work out our own inner relationship to our shut down, disempowered self. We're trying to work out the awareness that this is a reoccurring pattern from our past of what didn't happen in our family. There might be some grief there, but there's an invitation to go into deeper vulnerability, and we perceive that vulnerability as being hurt. No, when I was at that place of vulnerability, when I was at that place of deep intimacy in my family who did not see me, who on a certain level there was some kind of being ignored or neglected or abandoned, our trauma mind, because that history is unhealed or unintegrated into our psyches and into our maturity, when we link up of a attempt to have a certain level of emotional connection with a current adult partner, the mind perceives this as this is very, very dangerous territory, because this was the same emotional place where we were wounded once before. And if we are activated in our trauma mind and unable to find resource of how to work with it. We're going to project that onto our partner. We're going to push that onto the partner to say, make it better. Why can't you give me what I need? Why can't you just, and then fill in the blank. Why can't you just give me the reassurance that I need? Why can't you offer the consolation, the solace, the support, the kindness? Why can't you listen to me? Why can't you understand me on a deeper level? In those moments, it's so complicated because there might be some legitimate shortcoming from your partner. There might be a lack of skill from your partner. And also, most likely, a great amount of that experience is the activation of your old trauma injury, the attachment injury that's playing out in your current adult relationship. So when I make videos like I am here, when there is a Facebook group, if you're interested in joining, please do. It's called The New Love Addiction. It's at facebook.com, blah, blah, blah. I will put the URL there. Inevitably, whenever I share content, be it in the Facebook group or here on this video, I'm always, the reoccurring questions are, okay, yes, I hear you. Yes, that's true. Yes, I understand that exchange. But how do I work with it? Or even, the phrase, how do I fix it? Well, that's not a simple answer, but I will identify a couple ways to focus on increasing your awareness to work with it. Research, I can't pronounce it. Research shows that for every negative interaction, it takes 7 positive interactions for the brain to rewire or undo the association to the negative experience. So let me repeat that. It takes, for every negative exchange, interaction with a partner, it takes 7 positive new corrective experiences to undo that negative one. So how is that good information? Because at face value, that sounds like that's not a very uplifting piece of information to receive. The reason why it's uplifting that it says you have to really practice and pay attention to discerning when a partner is attempting to meet you, attempting to offer some emotional connection. Even if it's not good enough, even if it's not in the form that you had expected, even if it doesn't last as long as you want it to. But we have to increase our awareness to track and monitor when are there positive attempts being made. Our brain, especially when we are in trauma mind or we're acting from the attachment injury, our brain is designed to collect the evidence of all the failures. And the brain, when we are in our attachment injury, coming from a place of trauma mind, we are collecting evidence to prove and remind ourselves how this person, how the partner is failing us. Well, this is scary to think that your mind is doing this because it sets you up to repeatedly never getting your emotional needs met. So one way of how do you work with this is that to begin to train your awareness to at least acknowledge when a partner has made an attempt, even if it wasn't the best attempt, even if it didn't feel complete the way you would have hoped it to feel. If you can practice that awareness and name it directly with your partner to say, honey, I noticed that you sent me a text the other day and you said, just checking in, how are you doing? I want you to know that that was really meaningful to me. And when you did that, I felt you were reaching out to me and you wanted to know how I'm doing. It felt sincere. And I want to let you know, I want to say thank you for that. I want to let you know I'm appreciative of that. We need to do that more in relationship to begin to counter how the mind is repeatedly tracking and monitoring the negative interactions. We need to purposefully create more positive ones. Something else I want to share with you is an idea of what's called learned helplessness. And learned helplessness is there's actually an experiment, which I'm not going to explain in this moment. It's a not so terribly pleasant experience or experiment that had to do with a dog, and they didn't treat the dog very nicely. However, there was a conclusion that came out of that experiment, which is called learned helplessness. And the premise of learned helplessness is that we can feel a sense of empowerment when we can track a pattern and a rhythm, and if this happens and this happens and this happens, then it makes sense. I understand the next thing in the sequence is going to be whatever it is. Obviously, I'm speaking in abstracts, but learned helplessness is the feeling that results, a response that results, when we are so confused about what our partner is doing and when and how, so much so that we cannot figure out the pattern of interaction and the pattern of relating. That my partner sometimes calls me, but sometimes doesn't call me. Will call me, for 3 days and then not call me for 2 weeks. When the pattern is confusing and we cannot rely on, well, what is the regularity of our emotional interaction and our connection, we begin to respond with an experience of disempowerment because we feel that we are, in a way, at the whim of the other person, that I cannot impact or I cannot show any influence over having the other person respond to me. So if I have this experience of learned helplessness, over time, I'm going to give up. And that's what learned helplessness means. That if you're in gridlock repeatedly in your relationship, and every time you attempt to get your needs met and to ask for emotional exchange and interaction, and you just cannot figure out why sometimes your partner is available, why sometimes your partner isn't available, and no matter if you try plan A, plan B, plan C, that you get mixed results and it's not consistent, that you're unable to influence a change, over time that wears down your tolerance and you will begin to evidence what's called learned helplessness. And it's going to look like apathy. It's going to look like not only feeling disempowered, but now behaving in a way that you are disempowered. So couples who are in gridlock for, emotional gridlock for a good amount of time, that's a reoccurring experience, most often both of them enter a space of learned helplessness where they have lost capacity to assert any agency, to assert will, to assert a sense of change. It comes back to the feeling of a double bind, to say damned if you do, damned if you don't, that no matter what I try, it's not going to work. And the other partner will feel the same way. No matter what he or she tries, it's not going to work as far as getting emotional needs met. So how do we work? What does that mean? The first thing we said, there's 7. For every negative interaction, we need 7 positive interactions. So increase your awareness to monitor that. The next skill that you could focus on is really looking at how the pattern has induced a kind of learned helplessness. And if that has happened, You have to look at self-care. You have to look at self-empowerment. You have to look at self-soothing. And at that point in the process, it's not about how the other person is failing you and how the other person needs to change and invest more in couples counseling in order to get your needs met. At that point, you are disconnected from yourself. And that is a product, that is the result of trauma mind. So it's all full circle here. But it comes back to, how do you begin to esteem yourself? How do you comfort yourself? How do you build up your own emotional reserves, receiving emotional nourishment in other places beyond just working with your partner? I'm coming to an end talking about this. This is really dense information. It's also laden with sadness. I can't remember in this moment if I mentioned earlier on the video. It's really sad and a painful experience to be in a relationship where two people want to have some connection of warmth and knowing each other, and they lack the skills to be able to accept influence, to let that in, or they have managed to pick a partner who does not have those skills and is currently unable to acknowledge that this would be a skill that he or she needs to learn. So from this place of sadness, from this place of just acknowledging how incredibly painful emotional gridlock is, focus on identifying when you're in trauma mind, which will feel like you have lost touch with your own resources, and begin to think about how can you get your emotional needs met outside of your current relationship. Because when you are two people activated and disconnected from your own resource, you're not going to have any extra resource or any extra reserve to provide or give to the other person. And it's going to be a losing battle if you keep demanding it from a partner who doesn't have it to give. So lastly, that's the skill that I'm talking about, is through connecting to the sadness, we activate our empathy, we find some compassion to begin to accept the limitation. Gridlock is so much about, I got to make it work. I need it. I got to make it work. I got to try harder. I got to try this. I need it. And it's this relentless pursuit. Or it's also, for some people, I have to back off. I have to get out of here. I have to, there's no way I could provide anything. I have nothing to give. I have nothing to offer. Have to check out. I'm so unavailable. And regardless if your style is the pursuer or the distancer, there's still a scrambling and an intensity to try to get your needs met. Part of the process of breaking gridlock is to even give up on those needs in this moment. I'm not saying give up on them all the time, but we give up on them when we are in our trauma mind, because you'll never win. So through the sadness, through the empathy, we activate compassion and realize that we're not going to get our needs met here, at least right now, and that there is a complete impasse. And we try to pull out of the gridlock through this compassion and to realize, oh, wow, this is not even a dynamic of healthy relating. This is a repetition of trauma reenactment. Or that doesn't make sense, it's redundant. This is a repetition of the trauma injury or the attachment injury that took place in my history. And this whole dynamic, that gridlock itself is not even healthy adult relating. This is my very deep, hurting, pained place of how my needs were not met and are currently not getting met. And we cannot expect another person to heal that for us or to make that better for us. We have to do the hard work, the grief work of making sense and peace with our attachment injury that came from our family. We have to be able to grieve what didn't happen in our family. We have to be able to manage and hold the sadness that comes with not being seen, known, heard, understood, in some capacity being ignored or abandoned or neglected in your history. And when we do this, we begin to pull the projection off of the gridlock. We begin to pull out of the trauma mind, and we try to reaffirm, well, what are my current adult skills? Am I in the fullness of my current adult capacity? And from that place, can I make reasonable choices and place reasonable demands through negotiation? Can I even negotiate what is possible with my current partner? Chances are your partner will never be able to fully satisfy and offer the solace you need when you are in the gridlock. The deeper place of healing that needs to happen will only come from you. I hope that this is helpful. I acknowledge again that this content is really heavy, and take care of yourself. I hope some of these ideas that you're able to think about them, journal about them, integrate them into your healing process. If you like this content or this idea, please join a Facebook group of the same name, The New Love Addiction. It's on Facebook. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm currently in a couple other social media platforms such as Twitter and Instagram, all just ways to try to spread the word and get the word out there about how do we heal from attachment injuries. So I'm Alan Robarge. Thank you for listening. Please leave a comment if you want to. And until next time, I will see you next time. Thank you.